Hey, I want to welcome everyone to our Caliber Mind certification for board reporting for B2B CMOs. So we're going to go through who this course is for and why you want to take it, what you'll learn, and the exact steps to get certified. I'm going to intro myself. So I'm Kamala Thompson, VP of Marketing at Caliber Mind. I spent 15 years in B2B tech companies and RevOps, which means I was heavily involved in preparing board reports. But I didn't really understand why people were asking questions or certain questions as I was preparing those decks. Once I got into a boardroom, everything clicked and made so much more sense. And I understood that had I been a little bit more privy to some of the questions that were being asked, not some of the major scenario planning or things that need to be kept private, but some of the questions that are asked, I could better prepare my executive. And because I have a background in analytics, my board meetings tend to go pretty well because I understand the data and can explain why decisions are being made and then back it up with information. My assistants, the one you'll probably hear at some point, is Annie, aka the Rage Bunny. She's 13, and Kevin is my silent partner, and he is the cuddle bug of the family. Both are adopted. Just thought it would be fun to point out a quick fun fact. All right, so who should take this course? This course is geared from two perspectives. So the point of the course is to help executives understand what's being asked of them, how to best present it, and how to turn these data slides into a storyline, because stories are much more compelling than just throwing a chart up on the wall. On the other end of the spectrum, we're also preparing this course for operations so they can better understand what they're preparing for and then how to manage up. So a lot of times operations professionals, for example, are expected to socialize and get adoption of a data-minded culture without that authority to do so. This is going to encourage both the leadership team and the operations professionals supporting that team to work together more collaboratively and better communicate what they need from one another to best prepare for a board meeting. Benefits of this course: you're going to get a certification in bragging rights. At the end of the course, we'll give you instructions on how to add the certification to your LinkedIn profile. You're also going to get a lot of insights around what different investor types are looking for. Historically, private equity functions very differently than venture-backed, and then that also differs significantly from publicly traded, and we'll go through all of those. We're also going to go through some fundamentals first. So you're going to get a full range of training. Some of these things are going to seem like common sense to some people. Some of them are going to be a struggle for others. We're going to give you resources to ask questions as you go and prepare you from the foundational level up through the actual presentation itself. More specifically, session 1, and this is all on demand. So we're doing this kickoff live, and we'll post it on the page, and you'll also be able to encourage people to sign up for the coursework on your team if you feel it would be beneficial so they can better prepare for things. But after this kickoff, you're going to get an email with login credentials for Thinkific, and that is going to contain the coursework. And we're going to have different formats because people learn in different styles. We'll have video, written format, and a few other options for you to use on your own time. In session 1, we're specifically going to go over reading charts. And what this is really about is, if you've ever been in an executive meeting, there's usually that one person who spots things and drills in and asks these really great questions. It's not a superpower. They're just looking for trends, patterns, and anomalies. And we'll go through how to spot those and be the person asking those questions ahead of time so you don't get surprised in the meeting. The next lesson is going to be about telling stories with data, and we're going to focus on some fundamentals of negotiating because that is so essential in telling a story that compels people to invest further in your department and trust in what you're doing. So we're going to really focus on establishing patterns that build credibility, because a lot of times I have noticed in the past with senior marketers that credibility can be damaged if we don't tell our data stories in a certain way and repeat certain patterns. So we're going to go through what those patterns need to look like to build credibility. Then we're going to talk about building a data-driven organization. So my saying is always, if we're looking at data at quarter end retrospectively, it's too late. If you build patterns, and I'm suggesting 15-minute weekly meetings that anybody can attend that look at 4 core metrics or less, you're going to start to recognize patterns in your data because you're looking at it consistently, and you'll be able to respond to a lag in pipeline or bookings in enough time to be able to impact it that quarter. And that is such a better story to tell the board than just that retrospective look back. Then we'll talk about the 3 keys to working with ops and working with the CMO. So we're going to talk about working collaboratively. We're going to talk about what management needs to coach ops to do. So how do we ask the questions that give us better insights? If we're not great at pattern matching and looking at things and interpreting them right away, how can we coach ops to spoon feed that a little bit more and better prepare us for the questions that are going to come flying at us from those really savvy board members? And then on the flip side, as an operations professional, how can I anticipate some of those asks and better understand why I'm pulling certain data so I can eliminate those wasteful cycles afterwards, scrambling to pull information to answer questions that weren't answered during that board meeting. Session 5, this is the meat of our coursework. We're going to talk about the different kinds of investors and stakeholders that you're going to be presenting to in an executive meeting. And we're going to talk about not aiming for perfection, because that is the enemy of progress. We're going to crawl, walk, run. We're going to use the data we have, and we're going to aim to answer core questions that we know are coming from the board. And then finally, your final presentation, and there is a final in order to get certified. I'm going to give you a deck, and then you're going to write notes and suggest next steps. So, and the instructions will be super clear. There she is. Instructions will be super clear. You'll have opportunities to ask questions, and then we'll be able to collaborate together on these decks. So don't feel like I'm throwing you to the wolves and you're going to be alone. There'll be a lot of support along the way. So the philosophy behind this course, we're going to talk about real life applications and concepts. So I am going to be very honest as usual and tell success stories. And I'm also going to share failures that I've learned from. We're going to take real life applications, and so you can more deeply understand the concepts. So if we're talking about negotiation, we're going to step through what this would look like in practice. I'll give an example of a success and a failure, and we'll walk along this together. You're going to get cheat sheets, lesson slides, a lot of extra credit reading that's totally optional, and a lot of video instruction. We all know the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Okay, so squeaky wheel gets the grease. You'll have different means to communicate throughout the course. Once you get a link and a login to the course itself, you'll have the ability to chat discussions. This can be really useful in collaborating with other people. If somebody has a question, more than one person will also have that question. So it's a great way to get people involved in the course in answering questions and collaborating on what the best answer could be. You can also email me at hello@calibermind.com. I'm happy to answer questions as you run into them. We're also going to embrace the philosophy of crawl, walk, run. We're going to look at our data landscape as it is today and where we want it to go, but we're not going to let where we want it to go stop us from succeeding now. So I'm going to go through the metrics that people can use at different company stages. So I realize a seed startup isn't going to have the same money to invest in analytics as somebody who's publicly traded, and that's okay. So we're going to go through each stage and what we can do at those stages to answer questions definitively without waiting for perfection to happen. So the certification itself, there's a link in the deck to the course, but you're also going to get an email with login instructions. Each session has some kind of graded aspect. So there's a quiz, or maybe we ask open-ended questions that don't have a wrong answer, but there's some kind of interaction that's going to happen at each of those stages. If you need to take a test more than once, you can. So if, for example, I was in the reading charts section and I'm like, this is easy, I've got this, I want to skip to the end, and I take the quiz and realize, oh, there's actually some stuff in here I didn't know. You can go back, refresh that information, and then take the quiz again. Once the course is completed, you'll get your certificate and bragging rights, and you'll feel more prepared as your career continues to evolve. So remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't take every course in week one. It's just not a great idea. We just want to absorb a little bit at a time. For those of you who are convinced you're not good with numbers, I would love to encourage you to read Mindset, the New Formula for Success by Dr. Carol Dweck. She's amazing and really challenges some of the stereotypes and concepts that get ingrained early on so that we're more flexible to accepting learning. And then invite other people on your team to the course and collaborate on it as you go. So how would this apply to our company? What are the questions we could ask that are more specific to our organization? How does this apply, or how could we change it to work for us? And then chat in the discussions on the course email, or participate in scheduled discussions to get more out of your course. So we want this to benefit you as much as possible, and that means participating however much that you can and asking questions. So that is the course. If you have any questions, feel free to pop into Q&A. We'll give a few minutes for questions. We're going to send a recording to this video out, and we're going to send you a link to log into the course. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you more one-on-one as the course goes along, and I hope you get a ton out of it. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for Q&A. And that's it, folks. Expect an email with your login. And Erica, if you want to come off video, maybe we can talk about the content that you've been reviewing so far and how that's been going.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really enjoying reviewing the content. It's helped me kind of solidify the infrastructure of reporting in my mind. So I'm excited to put it to use. Kamala has some great tips and just like progress going forward plans to repeat and structure, and I'm excited to put it to use with all the numbers I have at my fingertips.
And it's funny because I go out and walk my dogs in the morning, and there's all these people starting to jog and New Year's resolutions, and I keep thinking of the key to building habits is repeatability and then small changes. So if we try to do everything all at once, like take all the lessons in one day, we may not get as much out of it as if we repeat over time. And thank you for the glowing review. I do.
Yeah, it's really helped me kind of plan the infrastructure of reporting in my brain.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a couple really wonderful comments in the Q&A. Let's go ahead and end the meeting, and we'll see you guys online in the course itself. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.